time, and it's been great. And now I'm a very old man. I've been doing it for so long, and I still bloody love it.
Yeah, and one of the things, because like I was the first before I'd seen you guys, I was recommended like, you know, you got to check these guys out, which is such an awesome thing to have because there's so, you know, there's a lot of different things. You know, there's a lot on the menu of life. There's a lot of things out there. So for people to be like, you know, really wanting someone to see something, I think that's an awesome thing. And then when you see the band, then you go back to the person like, thank you for that recommendation. You know.
Yeah, I guess very energetic live show. Like put my body on the line. I used to be
Yeah.
a goalkeeper back in the day, so I feel like
Mhm.
they say that goalkeepers make the best stuntmen, so because they know how to fall properly. So I feel like that helps me in my onstage antics.
That's great. I didn't even know that. I've learned something already. Yeah, because a lot of people I would know about me. I do love my sports, and I presume it's soccer goalkeeper, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
Because there's a few sports have keeper. Like could have been ice hockey.
It's
Or,
true.
yeah. A lot. Like the classic ice hockey thing is like because you know how they got so much pads and
Yeah.
stuff, and there's always that people like when you see something like why don't they just do this? And there's always that, and there's usually a good reason. Like,
Yeah.
but I know people being like, oh, they should just put giant people in to cover up the whole goal.
Or just lay down.
Yeah, yeah.
Make it seem real tall.
Yeah, I actually I'm sure you're not the first sort of I guess like physical front man if you call it that, or you know you do it. But I feel like you paved the way. There's really a generation now of like clowns, private function where there's the
Well,
especially I think like I said, I'm not saying invented the like going out into the audience and stuff. Or did you? You can claim it if you want. You know, I might see you at like mosh pits now with a lawyer going. I need to speak to you about there's a trademark on going into the audience.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about that? That you
I don't know.
or do you see them as enemies?
No, I think it's great.
Because in comedy we do have a kind of like it's more about nicking jokes with people pissed off.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if someone was to take a personality of another comedian and rip that off, there'd be trouble there too.
Yeah.
But you don't mind it amongst bands, like you know.
That's cool. If I see someone do a cartwheel on stage, sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah.
or the skipping rope, famous skipping rope thing. But nah, good on them.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes the show better. It's fun.
Yeah, exactly. And then plus it's like you've actually got to do it. It's it's a big commitment. Yeah.
My knees are not good, I'll tell you.
But it's like so the other thing I wanted to know too. So like you guys like put out awesome albums, legit awesome. The live show is a massive part of it. But then when you put out the album, but how do you find that like? So in the studio, do you need a bit of like, do you need to like climb on the ceiling of the studio to make it all,
No, like I think in regards to recording, it's like getting your brain into the mind frame of the actual song and the lyrics and being in that kind of frame of mind.
Yeah.
Like if it's a song about your girlfriend or whatever, it's great. If it's a sad song about fuck, I'm broke and blah blah blah, you might have a few beers beforehand, start slurring a little bit, just stuff like that. But no, I don't think the engineers would let me climb all over their expensive shit.
Oh yeah. And you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but
No.
Okay.
No, go.
Will you go on a date with me? No. So the tracking, because like I'm a huge music fan, but I've never done anything recording or anything. But like I've seen stuff. So the tracking, do you have a like preference? Is it
So how it works for us anyway is do the drums, do the bass, do the guitars, and try and fit the vocals in wherever you can.
You're the cream on the top.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's kind of like, okay, yeah, all right, we gotta get the drums right, we gotta get the bass right, we gotta get those guitars sounding great. Oh fuck, we haven't got much time left. Drew, can you just quickly do this? And then like, it's kind of like that. We're getting better with it, but yeah.
I think it's one of those things in life where, when you're like young and naive, it's almost better. Because like for like a long time, it was a long time before I knew the different tracking. I just assumed
Yeah.
bands just
Just
play
play it.
together and
Yeah. Oh, so did I. Yeah.
So and then I got so many questions I wanted to know about when I found out that's how it's done. Like, is timing ever an issue? Like, you get like a mixer who
Timing.
didn't line it up,
Oh my goodness, timing is.
and then you end up with like
plain
reggae where it's like offbeat, like
Give me some reggae.
yeah, you know where the reggae's like the drums and the guitar, yeah.
It's funny, sometimes the engineers will slow it down just to, have a little jokey too with you. It's quite funny, but yeah. No, like, timing is fucked when you're recording this video. Quick tracks, we're not great with them, but it's also nice to have a bit of feel to the song, so if it pulls and pushes a little bit, that's cool.
Yeah, and there's like for me doing comedy, like I said, I'm a big music fan, but I haven't recorded or anything. And there's like big differences between like acting and music, but then there's some similarities in that. I was going to say the finality, if that's a word, I don't know, but
Yeah.
let's go with it. The finality
Yeah.
of like that song or that album is like that's it now. And it's the same when I do acting stuff where it's like, and you might do a lot of takes, but then they'll use one or the best, or you hope
Yeah.
they use the best. So that's where I think is a bit similar is the finality of it. Yeah.
So, question for you in regards to acting and comedy.
I didn't come here to be questioned. No, I'm joking. No, go ahead.
In music, we normally, sometimes, if we can afford it, get a producer in and they kind of give us, change this bit, maybe do a double chorus here, blah, blah, blah. Do you have people like that? Do you bounce ideas off people when you're...
Yeah, well, so I have like a groups that I've worked with, of
Yeah.
like, and there's usually like a director.
Yeah.
So the director's the big one telling you how to act, and I like that. I like being told what to do, and I do like, because then it's like you can have someone to blame. But but yeah, and then I've
I did
got
what you said.
and then I've got so obviously like, there's the ones I know that we have a good rapport and work together, and then sometimes you get put on a job like an ad or something. You've never met them.
Yeah.
You don't really like him or trust him, and so that's like a different experience in itself. But in those occasions, that's when it's like, okay, I've got to be professional about this.
Yeah.
Like, do what they want, but also you've got to put your own individual edge onto it.
Totally.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Okay, that's your one question. Yeah. No, I'm joking. If you want to ask me anything too, it's nice to have it flipped onto me.
Yeah, I'll flip it.
Yeah. Okay, so growing up, anything else you want to talk about growing up?
Growing
any
up,
interesting jobs or hobbies?
Well,
or
yeah, so I played soccer a lot in my younger years, and when I was 16, 17, I got the chance to play for the Australian team,
Oh, cool.
indoor soccer, and we toured Brazil.
Sick.
So I went over to Brazil and met this family over there, and they we were only over, like, the team was only there for like 2 weeks or something, and they said to me, you can come and live with us for a year if you want and continue to play soccer and blah blah blah. So I lived over in Brazil and played kind of semi-professionally, like indoor soccer, and it was fucking wild.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lick of Portuguese before I went there, but you have to learn it.
What city was that?
It was a small town outside of
Oh,
São
okay.
Paulo.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
how do I explain it? Like New South Wales, I'd explain it like the size of like Berry or something.
Oh yeah.
It was
Because that's
kind
a lot of our images of places can be based on. So obviously Rio gets shown to us a lot,
yeah.
and very like hustle and bustle, big city. So yeah, that's interesting. You got that smaller town life of Brazil.
Yeah, I think my parents were very scared for me to go over there by myself because
Yeah.
It's South America. It's a little bit sketchy sometimes. I remember the first week I was there, I came from a training session. I was walking down the street with another Aussie who lived there for a little while, and some guy jumped out with a knife and he was just like, "Give me all your shit," and I was just like, "Holy fuck!" He took my bag off and stuff, and the guy I was with did the crazy was like, "What's that up there?" and like pointed up to the sky, and the guy looked there and he just kicked him right in the balls and legged it, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, "Run, you idiot!" and I was just like, "Oh my god, this is my."
So you got to keep your
introduction."
staff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Man, that's like it's like what you've described is like. If I was watching it in an action movie, I'd be like, "That's ridiculous," and then it's actually
I
happened to
couldn't
you.
believe it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, it's funny. Like you know, that's not a nice experience. But I was
No.
gonna say, you, it's great that you did like a, because there's that cliche like Aussie in London, or you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I'm going the other side of the world to the same but pretty close to experience I get out
Yep.
here. But yeah, that's I didn't know that, so that's great.
Yeah, I went to school over there and everything.
And that's probably one of those classic cases of like you didn't know that's gonna happen.
Oh
did you?
man, that
It's
fucking,
like
you know.
sliding doors moment if you
Yeah,
didn't
totally.
do the futsal tour.
Yeah, I'd be at home in my parents' house smoking bongs right now.
Instead, you're smoking bongs in Brazil.
Exactly.
Different flavors, you know. And so what, that was a year you said.
Around, and like nearly a year and a half was there. So, yeah.
And did that experience sort of it sounds a bit cheesy, but like shape you as anything for the rest of your life? You know, it was like that's it. I want to be a futsal player. I want to be this.
Well, I did. I really wanted to. I wanted to go to the World Cup and whatnot, but man, with like any kind of sporting thing, it's very corrupt, and it's very like, you know, I like this person, and I never got there, so I gave up, much to my parents' demise. Like, they were so upset, and then I was like, I'm gonna be a musician, and here we fucking are, sitting in a car.
Yeah, exactly. So never. It's a good message for kids out there. Give up on sport. But yeah, like it's a funny thing about sports, because I've had this great like funny relationship with sports over like I've always loved them, never graded them.
Yeah.
But and then it was like, if it was something I was like a little bit alright at, I'm like, I'm gonna pursue this. I'm gonna like and there was never any. Sometimes like rugby league was probably, I was never graded at, but that's the only thing where I think like maybe if I. Because I never did gym or anything, so everything was just based on like, I'm gonna run as hard as I can.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of like, imagine if. Obviously, the ship's long sailed, but it's a little bit of like, I probably could have done like 3 levels down in England or something.
Yeah.
I didn't get a bit of pay, like living in like Sheffield or somewhere in the north. So that's my little bit of regret. Like if I'd.
Yeah. But, listen, we all have things we regret, but you know.
Life.
That's
That's the journey of life. So, so with the music, was there, because you know, I've always been into punk and stuff, but I remember the Triple J Punk Show had this segment where they get people to request like 3, like I think they called it Gateway or like Gateway
like
songs,
old school pride.
yeah,
or something.
yeah. But the idea is you're supposed to treat it in a fun way and just say like Blink, Offspring, and there's always the announcer always have to go like, stop sending me in rare like 7 inches of weird bands, like that's not your gateway. But anyway, so that's the thing I wanted to ask. So can you tell us a bit about getting to the point of, is it fair to say punk, hardcore punk?
Getting into the style of music.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, in like year 4, I'd say like 8 or 9, just a bloke I knew at school, Trent, like handed me, fucking, I heard They Suck Live by No Effects, and yeah, it was the 90s, so it was just like so big, and it was just fucking all happening, and so many bands were touring Wollongong and playing the youth centre. So, you know, I saw Blink on their first tour, like support Body Jar at like Dicey Riley's, which is a small pub in Wollongong, and I don't know, I was a big Fat Records person.
Yeah, me too.
And also really got into ska.
Yeah,
which
me
is
too.
where I wanted to start my musical journey. So I lay-byed a trombone from the local music store.
That's awesome.
And I got it, and I was sitting in my small fucking apartment with my girlfriend, like tooting away, and she's like, Jesus Christ, this is horrible. I'm like, oh, it's not as easy as I thought. And so I started getting lessons, and then I put up I hitting up everyone in town, like, do you want to start a ska band? Want to start a ska band? Nobody wanted to start a fucking ska band. So
it's a lonely life. I was a very lonely ska boy in Brisbane, because like it was not much of a scene here. I was like going to gigs by myself and lonely skanking. Yeah, but
well, it was pretty big back in the day.
Yeah,
like, you know, Porkers and all that.
Well, there was the big, like real big fish, and that were big.
Yeah,
and
totally.
But then if you really got into it, you'd have to be really hardcore to like.
Yeah.
And I was like going to like the more obscure like Mad Caddies and
yeah. Well, we got to play with Mad Caddies, and it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
Well, yeah. So it's interesting you say, because that's there's a common theme is like like you say, being given a CD.
Yeah.
So obviously for me, like it was also in the like I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to pretend like I'm found in some obscure way. Like Blink and Offspring and Green Day and that was all on radio and Rage and all that. So I found it out through that. But I have heard that common theme of being either passed on CDs from older brothers, often the older brother thing. And I remember it was like, you'd see like NoFX shirts around too, and it had always like the not animation, but the cartoon picture. And so that's what I told someone about recently, like talking about, you know, everything gets dissected. Why was this good or great, or why did that end up big? And I mean, there were great songs as well, but I feel like that whole, like sort of mid 90s to late 90s skate pop punk ska, they all had like the whole package, right? Like the logos. You know, talk about the Fat Wreck. You know, everyone had a logo, like strung out, Pennywise, and you'd see the stickers around the shirts. And so it was very the whole thing consuming, and being a teenager is just everything fast. You want that, like, you know, it goes hand in hand with like skateboarding. It's all just sugary.
And also a time of no streaming services. So I remember like every week or every 2 weeks they'd release those $20 Fat Record CDs, and I'd
Punkorama every time.
All those compilations were so
and you like have the CD wallet books.
When I went to Brazil, I actually had my CD wallet full. I had like 100 CDs, and I lost it on the second day, and it was one of the most devastating moments of my life. CD wallet.
So we're just tracking the sort of the journey. So there was no. That's the reason I asked was hoping for a funny, like, kind of. I went from jazz to country, but no. So just straight into punk, all right.
Pretty much.
Well, and the bit of take you to the dark side of ska, but no. That's it. I actually recently I was a guest on a ska-based pod, and it was my first non-Australian thing. So that was really exciting for me. Did my first like ever thing out. Like I was in Australia, but we did it over the phone. But they're American. I'm like, sick. It only took me like 15 years into my comedy career.
That's it. That's cool. Pick it up the girl.
Yeah, exactly. So no, I was hoping for a sort of country or jazz background.
No, like, you know, when you were younger, you used to listen to the top 40 kind of stuff.
But you did sort of like, again on that theme of like the Triple J thing, like you weren't straight into like the harder sort of side, right? Like
no.
So that was a bit of a progression.
That was late. Like getting into stuff like, you know, Converge and things like that. No, my brain couldn't handle that kind of.
But that's why like no one. That's what they try and say on Triple J. Like, don't pretend like you just went straight. You know, everyone has that gateway. I was like, I mean, there must be someone who goes straight into it, but but hardly anyone. But I remember this band here. It was funny because like, I'd see the singer now where it's just hardcore thrash, but you talk about his early days being into Blink and stuff. And he makes it.
Exactly.
All right. So. We're taking the, you know, this. If this seems rough, it is not very smooth. I don't have anything prepared or anything, but we're just going through the journey of Drew's life. So where should we go from here?
Well,
we've had futsal. We've had, you know.
Well, I guess at the start of my first band that I ever did. So, you know, forgetting about ska, I'm like, well, you know, I can't do ska. What's the next best thing? And I remember when I was younger, I don't know if I ever told the story, but hanging out with my friends and we were singing to Cher, Turn Back Time. I loved it. And I was singing at the top of my lungs in my friend's house, and his mum came in and was like, "You're a really good singer." And I'm like, "What? So that was my next thing. I was like, I'm going to be a singer then. So my friends, pop punk band, were playing at my friend's like 18th birthday or something, and I was like, "Can I get up and sing a song?" And they were like, "Yeah, okay." I got up and sang, and they were like, "Oh, you're better than our singer. Do you want to join?" I was like, "Yes." So I had this horrible, well, it was, you know, it was starting, but yeah, pop punk band. and just playing the youth centre every now and then. It was cool, called Free Junior.
That was the band name, or?
Yeah. It was
Awesome.
about the house that we lived in. It was a horrible story. This guy had this dog, and we treated it like shit, and we were like, we got a Free Junior, and we called the RSPCA.
Oh, I see.
Proper dog fade, so.
It gets one of those ones when you tell it it's not what you think at first. You're like,
Yeah.
because I'm thinking free, like no cost. Is it what, free junior burger, free junior? I wanted to hear more. No. Oh man, I love hearing about that stuff. I like I said, always huge music fan, but just very slight interaction with actually trying to make something of it.
Yeah.
I think obviously the pop punk band names, I had heaps of them written there. The one that I came to, you know, all those like batteries not included, that sort of I think this is 01, 02, that sort of era, just before all the like My Bleeding Valentines came, the Sentence one. But anyway, so I had so I came up with which I thought was fantastically witty, Board of Education, but it was BORED.
You know,
Because in my mind it's like, oh, it's doing this double, like, you know, they run the education, they're the board, but there is nothing called the Board of Education.
but there was a band called Board of Education.
Was there?
Spelled like that. With
So maybe I nicked it.
the
Without realising.
guys from the Porkers, one of the guys from the Porkers.
Oh.
We played.
Here
our
I am
first
thinking I'm
show was with
original.
them in the Blue Mountains, but very clever name. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. But and so nothing ever came of that. I think we had one rehearsal and like on the acoustic guitar in
really?
the garage doing like When I Come Around. Never
Excellent.
took off. And then my only other thing, which also went nowhere, but the classic, like, you know, and talking about pre-streaming, pre-internet and stuff. So this is another like showing my age sort of thing, because I don't think it really happens anymore. The ad in the street press.
Yeah, yeah,
I know there's some famous,
Love
like I'm pretty sure that's how like Savage Garden met.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I responded to this one because it was like all the things I loved, all the Fat Wreck. It was like influencers, Strung Out, Pennywise, etc. They wanted a singer, and I went around to this guy's house. Never saw him again. It was so embarrassed. Like thinking back to it, was me there, and like I can't even remember if like I came up with my own lyrics, which would have been very, you know, there's so many themes to rehash. A lot of like society was mentioned.
Yeah.
It was like prisoner of society, Sum 41, casual. People like talking about society back then. It was a bit, yeah. But oh man, it's another one of those, like there's no footage of it, nothing, but it's just a crazy memory in my mind. Auditioning to be a singer for a pop
So
band.
good.
Yeah. This was like my only regret of that area was when it predated a lot of like, you know, camera phones and stuff. There's like all the memories are in here, which is nice, but so I reckon it's like, you know, if I posted them, that'd be getting a lot of that stuff would be getting heaps of likes. Right? Like I had one photo that I can't find of my dreadlocks. Well, it could be for the best. I could get cancelled, right? Yeah. But I have a get out of why I wouldn't be cancelled, because they're not, because so I was a huge Less Than Jake fan, right? So I wanted to look like Roger. Yeah, but so I love like Roger from Less Than Jake.
Yeah.
I wanted those kind of dreads, Jay Frenzel, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Long, chunky. Anyway, and I went to find an ad on Gumtree or something, or whatever, and it was an African braiding, so African hairdresser. They do dreadlocks. But anyway, I go along to it, and she puts on these like kind of like wax and pulls them, and they end up being real pointy and look more like new metal kind of. I look like someone from Korn, you know. But I have one photo, but I can't find it because it was still the days of the old, like, what do you call it? The film, right, where you had to send
disposable camera.
Yeah, you had to give it to the chemist and come back in a week's time. Not like now, we just take a pic of everything. So yeah, like some of those I wish like I had more of that sort of stuff.
I know.
Yeah,
But
but
I'd probably look back on a lot of it and just cringe a lot.
yeah. It's funny how it's like it's a trend now, I think, with using the old like digital, not digital.
Oh yeah.
The throwaway disposable cameras.
Yeah. Polaroids.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah. It's that I was gonna say cosplay. That's not a nice word, but like pretend we're from the old days. Yeah, I guess it is cosplay.
Pretend we
yeah.
know all about it.
Yeah, I am old. Yo, stop stealing my culture.
But stealing my hose.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a funny like kind of how do I even get to that? But auditioning for bands and stuff. So that's my little foray into bands that didn't go anywhere. But I've like for a while there I got a bit down because I'm like I want to be in music. But these days I'm like like you need fans, you need punters because there's nothing worse than those gigs where you're like there's about 30 people here, and then they gradually 5 people hop up and 5 people. Everyone hops up and all the punters are from bands.
Tonight.
Well, we've got. I'm used to that in comedy too. Like my gigs where they're just playing other comedians.
If I was doing it for that, then I would have fucking quit a long time ago. Man.
Nah. You got an awesome following. Yeah, but like you do like so well, I've only seen your following in Australia, but you guys like toured internationally, right? Yeah.
We've only been in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Which was fucking awesome.
Yeah. What's that? Tell us a bit what that's like,
Well, yeah, didn't know what we're getting ourselves into, but a friend of ours helped us book the tour there. And first show, like people knew who we were, which was weird, and also. It's so fucking nice. So every show they'll bring us presents and stuff, and everyone's really wacky, like a little bit wacky over there. So all the bands we played with were kind of like similar to us and had like weird stage things, and it was just fucking.
Is that Bizarre World? Was the Japanese version of you?
Yeah.
Oh, I was just about to act it out. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, please.
You gotta sign up for Patreon if you want the shit that's gonna get me cancelled. Hello, I am no, I couldn't resist. No. Anyway, they're called like totally pandas. I don't know. I'm gonna stop there. Anyway, but yeah, so that's I see. I've never been out of Australia, so I'd love to experience something like that. Just my closest thing is like going to Perth and like, whoa, you guys know who I am? Like,
yeah, that's great.
Perth is bloody far in distance, but
I think it's further than Japan.
Yeah, so it's far in distance, but Australian cities are the city's a city, right? Like we're the most boring.
Yeah, there's no Channel 9 and
we're like fight over like scallop versus potato potato cake.
Palmy Palmer, what do you say?
Yeah, people try and draw me into that. It's like. I'm like, I'm not getting into that. You just want to keep like catch me out and say, oh, you said the wrong one. I'm like, can't we just all agree that they taste beautiful? Right? Let's just eat them and agree. It doesn't matter what we call them, right? Anyway, so that's sick. Going to Japan, different culture, but I guess that's subcultures like punk and stuff. That's the cool thing of like. Foreign country, but you find your little like, we think alike, we want the same thing.
Couldn't really communicate very well, but we had
communicating in mohawks and chain wallets and.
Well, it was fun. So the first show we played there, a friend of ours came over with us, and when we entered the venue, the tour manager was looking after us. Said, "Okay, this is going to be really cool, but see that guy over there."
I've added some lighting to the video.
He's a Yakuza, so just fucking stay away. And he looked like he was in Rancid, like full punk, fucking spike hair and stuff. They're like, okay, no worries. And so we were playing and
committed less crimes than Tim Armstrong. I might edit that out. Anyway,
had less fingers. And when we started playing, our friend got a little bit too excited, had a few too many Asahis, and did a spin kick and kicked this fucking guy right in the face and knocked him to the ground. And it was like the whole crowd at the same time were like, like that. And he was like, oh fuck. So he quickly ran to the bar. The guy was fucking pissed. Bought 2 beers, walked over to him and was like, oh, seriously, have the beers. And he gave him the one beer and he's like, me? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, and he's like, and another one. He's like, 2. Like, he's like, yeah. And
that's so good. Like,
and they became friends.
It's a good message in that.
I've never seen that guy again.
If you offend a mafia somewhere, there's nothing a couple of beers can't
2 beers.
Yeah. I wonder if the Italian mafias are that crazy. Just like, here, have a martini or prosecco or whatever the Italians.
Okay.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I mean, yeah, awesome that everything's alright. I'm
He's
glad.
still alive.
Yeah,
Has all his fingers still.
So yeah, like, well, that's probably one of the craziest mosh pit. You know, what do you call it? Like, what do they call it? Wrestle. What's it called? Punk hardcore dancing. I guess.
Moshing? Oh,
yeah.
like, what they call it, moshing, don't they? Oh,
Yeah.
fight dancing or
Yeah.
something like that.
I'm pretty sure we know the word. All of a sudden, we've just become like concerned suburban dads. Like, mosh pit fighting.
Yeah, it's like my dad going, "How was the dance tonight?" I'm like, "It's called a gig, Dad."
Yeah,
It
you know,
cool.
it reminded me of when if you ever find those, like, there's quite a few on YouTube and stuff of like, say like Oprah or some shit like that, where they had like Jello Biafra on to talk about like
Yeah.
the craze that's sweeping the nation, and it was like hardcore moshing. And I love that Sick of It All video. You ever seen that with all the memes?
Yes, I have.
So
One of the first
Yeah.
like punk videos I ever saw.
Yeah.
Awesome song, awesome video.
yeah, that was the, you know, like talking before about like pre-streaming or whatever and finding out about stuff. There's something exciting about like, that's what I remember is like the middle of the night I'd go downstairs to watch Rave and the band guest programming and these American bands that came from Warped, and they're showing videos of like you would never normally see, and that's how I first saw videos like that. It was like Mighty Mighty Boston showing like punk bands from Boston, and I was like, this is sick. Like,
Remember doing the same and having the video recorder ready and like pressing record. If it was a shit song, I'd stop it and then rewind back. And then
Yeah.
it was,
so good. Yes, what a nostalgia. Oh, yeah, that's awesome, man. Do you think so you'd love to do anywhere else? Or
Oh
any-
yeah, we're trying to go to Europe.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the bands I know and that, and seem to do pretty well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Like bands like Clowns and stuff go over, do heaps of shows in Europe. Yeah, it's great.
Doing it.
I'd love to, like, I want to one day try somewhere. Like, I'd love to try. I want to dip my toe in with NZ or something.
Yeah.
It's like so yeah. Anyone out there from other countries want to bring me over, please?
The Foot Rock Flats guys.
Yeah. Oh man, that's like, I love that the classic comedy shows and stuff. All right, so yeah, so you pretty much told us about the journey, which is great. And well, let's get a little bit away from music and stuff then. Tell us about yourself, Drew. What's your passions and hobbies and all that stuff? I'll turn this off because I think it's gotta go flat. So we're back to being dark again.
My passions. My passions is music. I live for it. I love it. You know, we've all got 9 to 5s.
Yeah.
And it's kind of pay the bills, but you know, as I said, I get to travel Australia with my mates and sometimes overseas. It's the best.
And sometimes get to do dodgy podcasts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is this is great.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And all my friends, all of them, I've met through music. And
Yeah.
It's cool. But other than that, I love my cat. I love my wife. Yeah, just having a good time.
Interesting. You said cat first. Okay, I hope your wife doesn't listen to this. Hey, you got. It's like, hey, I put you in the top 2. That's like
Or 3.
Yeah,
With music.
Yeah. As long as I got my tunes, my girl, my cat.
And just hanging out with mates, like
Do you ever get into sort of BMX, skate, any of that?
Man, I wish I could skateboard. I just feel like I'd break my arm like straight away. Like I was like, fuck, I want to be a skateboarder, but
So I just cruised around. I couldn't flip or anything. You didn't even cruise around?
Nah, I couldn't. I boogie boarded a lot when I was
Yeah,
younger.
I
I
do.
love the boogie.
Love the boogie.
Because I grew up down the far south coast, like Ulladulla, so lots, sort of.
Yeah. So that was your. I should have asked you with the growing up. So Ulladulla was where you grew up?
Yeah, I grew up in Mollymook. down the south
Oh yeah.
coast.
I went there once when I was a young fella, but I'd love to go back again.
Wonderful place.
You actually talking about Warped and stuff. They went through there in '98.
Yeah. I went to that one. It was amazing. The first ever walk through the Milton Showground. so good.
Because I didn't go till 99 on the
Okay.
Goldie, because I was only like 12 in 98. But 99, and that, so it just predated all the insane stuff with Limp Bizkit. you know.
Yeah.
So there was, I still remember being held up on a bodyboard during Pennywise and stuff. And I was a pretty small fella back then. And I remember all the old dudes were really encouraging, like, yeah, I'll get a little grommet, you know, yeah. So that was sick. That was down the Goldie. They have it on the spit at the end of where SeaWorld is, like right.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I had the poster and followed all that the first tour, and it did a lot of those smaller towns,
Yeah,
which is
it
cool.
was
Yeah.
wicked, yeah.
Yeah, like I guess there's a big there's a lot of those bands like Pennywise. I just watched on YouTube the other day this Blink's first tour
I
'95.
watched it after you posted it.
Oh, great! You didn't leave a like though. Come on, man.
Sorry.
I'm not sharing these vids with. No, I'm just joking. I did actually. You know,
I'll watch it later.
there's actually you know, if I ever do an episode on mental health and stuff, I did go through a period of like being obsessed with the likes.
Oh,
and stuff,
really?
which had really bad mental health. Anyway,
Okay, I like everything from now on.
yes, no, no, I'm joking, but nah, dude. Anyway, it is crazy. We are like guinea pigs for all this shit, and
I know.
it messes with people's heads. But yeah, so stuff like that. Basically, what I'm trying to say is Australia. Bands like Blink, Millencolin, so that kind of the surf punk culture.
Yeah.
There was a really good market for them and stuff.
Well, I guess, yeah, you think all the towns they played were coastal
Yeah,
towns, so it's like, oh, yeah, well, the surfers.
yeah. Well,
so-
like,
and-
yeah, coastal, I guess, is in terms of. I mean, like, there's so many things about Australian culture that is like American, but that's almost like a replica of California and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of those coastal, like Gold Coast and New South Wales towns as well. Yeah. Yeah. So, what else have we got? I really should have written some stuff down. Anything else you'd like to talk about, or
Oh, listen, no.
what do you dream? What do you? No,
I
no,
won't get into those.
no.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to have you on, because like huge fan, but seemed like a really interesting guy.
Thank you.
I thought you would like lead the way a bit with the convert.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm being an
This
idiot.
is your podcast,
Yeah,
mate.
yeah. I
When you
should've-
come on my podcast, you know, I'll
Well,
say-
see, I'm like, I know I've got like the tell us how you got to this point, but I wanted to get a bit away from that as well, because like I don't want to
Yeah.
I don't want to just entirely be the journey to this point. But also,
well,
what about right now? Live in the moment.
yeah, just live at the moment.
Should we do the Wikipedia thing? You want to do that?
If you want to.
This is exciting. I've made the effort to think about something I should have on the podcast, and this is gonna all the premieres today, right? Finally got a title.
Oh,
I did 4 eps without a podcast title. I did 4 eps with no segments, like pre-planned segment. So this is this new thing where I want to ask the guests where we find a Wikipedia page to talk about. Do you want to try that?
Okay.
Okay. So should we do it on your phone?
Yes,
or-
yes, okay.
And then if there's any listeners want to help me work on this, so I'm thinking either the guest decides on something from out of nowhere, a Wikipedia article for us to look at and talk about, or B, I didn't say A, did I? That would be A, or option B would be, so A is they think of one, or B, I pre-prepare, or yeah, is that right? Pre-prepare? I prepare a few options and they can choose from that. Do you want to do the molasses one I was telling you about?
Yeah.
So I was telling Drew before we started this recording, one of my favourite, because I love getting into Wikipedia rabbit holes, which is very easy with the links to everything. So Wikipedia, one of my favourite things is like sort of like disasters or historical moments. So if you put it, there's a
What is it?
Boston. It's a Boston molasses disaster.
How the fuck do you spell molasses?
MOL. Yeah, there it is. Great
there it is.
All right. So how are we gonna go about this? All right. Welcome to the very first Goxies Wikipedia discussion. Okay. You want to tell us what we got here? So I suggested this to Drew. It's the Great Molasses Flood of Boston.
So, okay. A large storage tank filled with 2.3 million US gallons of molasses weighing approximately 13,000 short tons that burst, and the result, a wave of molasses rushed through the streets at an estimated 35 miles per hour, 56 kilometers.
See that I will say, like, obviously it's disasters and stuff, they're awful that they happen, and I feel bad, but in my mind it's got that cartoonish, like
Tom and Jerry.
yeah, you know, they got that classic cartoon thing of like saying someone overfills a bath and forgets about it, and then the water comes flushing through the house when it really wouldn't be like that in reality. So it's the same in my mind, this molasses thing. I'm seeing in my mind of like just millions of liters of molasses, which for those who don't know, I guess it's like honey kind of, or
Yeah, so
like a thick
oh,
jelly
that's
sort
what I
of
was
thing.
going to ask you. Is it like
And in my
maple
mind, it's
syrup?
just rushing down the street, right?
People bringing their pancakes out?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yum, yum.
that's what's interesting. So, can you bring up what do you want to go to? Flood? So we just go to the juicy aftermath. 'cause-
Well, also noting that killing 21 people and injuring 150.
yeah, that's a sad part. You can't have fun without a bit of sadness, right? But yeah, that's the thing in my mind is the cartoonish like molasses rushing down the street, but it is. I mean, it's like over 100 years ago. But yeah, so you got
So this is the aftermath. And, well,
you might have to talk.
yeah, yeah,
So for the future, I'm just thinking a way I can improve this. Maybe if I tell the guests before they come on, they can have a look at it, get an understanding.
well, let me tell you about the cleanup. The cleanup crews used salt water and a fireboat to wash away the molasses and sand to absorb it. And the harbour was brown with molasses, kind of like the brown snake.
Yes.
So that's what happened in Brisbane.
Little Brisbane reference there. That's another thing that's a bit cartoonish, where it's like, in my mind is like, oh, imagine if imagine if you put like so much food dye in the water to make it a different, but you'd have to put such a massive amount, which tells how much there was of this stuff to change the color of the water, right?
It's yeah, and I wonder if the fish tasted
Sweet fish.
Mm-mm.
Maybe they were like naturally battered, like you didn't. So
Yeah. What do we need next to put on these fish?
Yeah.
We need the batter. Get to the batter factory.
So hey, is there any I feel like we
Names
skipped
of
like
dead people.
I feel like we skipped like how it happened and flood. Here we go. This is the juicy bit. Flood.
Blood. No?
But then you start with the boring. It's telling us about the alcohol.
Oh,
and
it's due to the temperature.
yeah, and also 1919 like standards weren't great. This is why you need OH&S people, so your product doesn't go down the street at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
That's right. They would have lost a lot of money.
So you know I'm talking about the cartoonish element. Like, can I ask you when I tell you about when you read that?
Yeah.
Are you getting any images? Because in my mind I've got like people surfing down the street.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I've
And,
watched too many cartoons.
Yeah, just people surfing, bringing out, or maybe surfing on a giant pancake, or like, you know, what else?
Yeah, to absorb. Like, quick, get
Yeah.
the like paper towel, get the pancakes to absorb it. Giant maple syrup.
So, I've never heard about this tragedy before. Absolute tragedy.
Well, this is what Wikipedia's about. Like,
I never
these-
go on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Well, see, this is why I'm talking about the rabbit hole. So you could be looking at something, and if you see like a blue word like
Yeah.
that links to another page. So that's
Yeah.
how I end up down rabbit holes. But something I like to do, I like to read a lot of different stuff on Wikipedia. But for me, a big thing is like things I knew that happened when I was a kid, like in the 90s and stuff, and I only know very vague info on it. And
Yeah.
so, like, and some of them are very tragic, and it's like not a nice thing to look up. It's I remember being a kid and say like LA riots, early 90s,
Yeah.
Port Arthur, which is tragic, but because I was like 10 and the news covers it, but when you're a kid, it doesn't really process.
Yeah.
And even things like September 11.
How was Prime Possum created?
Yeah. I see. I'm going a bit more intense. And
Yeah, I just like to lighten it a
Yeah,
little bit. You know?
yeah, that's good. So So
I-
if the molasses is too intense for you, we can do something like nicer. Do you want to like
Well,
search something that you'd like to find out about?
Okay, alright, let's go. Let's,
I'm putting under a lot of pressure here, so want some thinking music?
let me type in something to do, you know, musical.
I don't want to get a flat battery, so I'll put that light
Yeah,
up.
that's fine.
I feel like the audio is the juicy part of it. But it's like, you got to do it these days, right? Everyone's got the video pod.
I'm looking up world's biggest instrument. See what the world's biggest instrument is. And I can't, it's not working for me.
How about, what was something
You tell me.
we're trying to answer before? Look up hardcore dancing or something.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Hardcore dancing. It might come up with something good.
It'll be like real posh, it'll be like the art of moshing. Yeah, click on moshing. That's a good topic too.
There we go. Slam dancing.
That's a good one.
Um,
But I was trying to think of the words that like sort of like metalcore would use, you know, like your Parkway Drives and
well,
those
there's like the Wall of Death and like,
beat break. Well, that's more the audio is the breakdown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
picking up change, you know.
yeah.
Love that one.
I love
I always wanted to be able to do the hardcore dancing, but I just could never get it. But then someone told me that it's just like skanking.
yeah.
And,
You-
put it-
Once you pick it up,
you
yeah.
can't put it
Yeah,
down.
yeah. It's like riding a scar bike.
Yeah.
Actually, so something me and you have in common, talking about the physical performance.
Yeah.
Like crowd surfing. Do you do a bit of crowd surfing? Because
Mm.
I've done a bit of crowd surfing.
But you know, they have to
Can-
be
can you
some
tell
pretty
me
strong
some-
people.
Well, that's the thing. I've had the same where I'm like, I'll go onto the stage and I'm like, no, I don't want to squash any girls, you know.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
trying to work out. It becomes funny because you start like looking at arms. Where's some strong boys here? But so I'm pretty sure it was last year. Splendor in the Grass.
I saw this video.
Yes, it went on Trill J. But what I want to say, it went for so long. It was the longest I've ever crowd surfed in my life.
Yeah.
And it was, and talking about cartoonish things, and The Simpsons made me think of Homer Simpson. He didn't stay up for long, but you know how he got passed out? Like, he's like, oh, you know? That's what it felt like, except I came back again. So I got moved to the back. Have you been to Splendor or you know the
I
site?
haven't.
But you probably know, like,
Yeah, I
those
know what
music
you're talking
fest,
about.
massive site,
Yeah.
huge amount of people. And anyway, so it's probably like 50, 60, anyway, from the stage to the back of where the crowd is. And it passed to the back, and I'm like thinking, like Homer, I'm going to be kind of like, whoop. But then it starts coming back again. And I was like, again, it doesn't sound like a huge amount of time. It's probably up there for a minute, and that's a long
good.
time to be like
Yeah.
held up.
And,
'Cause
like,
your
took you to
average.
the canteen, got yourself some food. come
Yeah,
back.
I was just like, I wrote a review of Splendor in the Grass, just like, you know, a bit of poetry, but that's like,
Go to sleep.
a lot of
woke up.
a lot of my things start like that, where they're just like, you start it like, oh, because I had years where I didn't crowd surf or
Yeah.
anything, and then I like tried again, and I'm like, this is pretty fun, like,
Yeah. Sometimes when you hit the ground, that sometimes hurts. But when
Yeah.
you did that, were they like, Doxy, get up, mate, get up? Or,
Yeah.
or were you like, I'm crowd surfing?
no, like people, there's pretty good etiquette usually where people lift you up.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
But there's some of these kids now, they're pretty.
Strong.
Well, I was gonna say intense as well, because you know they love to do that. You know where they all move apart so they can all.
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying making myself seem old. Like I don't know. What is it?
Run at each other. Is that
What do they call that? Yeah.
Wall of Death.
You know where they make a big walk backward. Yeah, I guess that's it. Wall of Death. I think.
Oh, like when they're like everyone back.
Circle pit, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, that's always been around since I've been going to things. But like back in my day, they would space it out, so you might have one, and then there wouldn't be another one for ages. But these younger kids, they do the one, but the next one starts, they do it like they have no concept of less is more, right? Just like
Yeah,
let's just do 50 of these circle pits, you know? But in a way too. Because bands used to be pretty cheesy about it, you know, they're like, well, I'm going to separate you guys.
Yeah.
But, you notice I use the Yank accent because we're a bit cooler about it. The Yanks come over and they're like, all right, "Can we have all the people?" And I don't usually do accents, right? So you're getting a treat
Yeah,
here.
that's good.
But because like, yeah, well, you know, like this is what I love about Aussies. We love that the bands come here, but they won't stop us making fun of them.
Yeah, totally.
There's something. Can I ask you? I absolutely love this. I think we have a similar sense of humor. You know, like something really stupid, but every time you think about it or hear it, it'll make you laugh.
Yeah.
And for me, that's finding out, because I'd heard the word "seppo" for Americans, right?
Yeah.
Because I'd heard it for years, and it took me a long time to learn the process of getting to it, right? Because you know, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, septic tank,
Yeah.
rhymes with yank.
Yeah. It's
And it's
great.
like something cracks me up about that, where it's like, yeah. And then, that would be. I'll do that for my next guest. Just thought of another good Wikipedia because of that, because the Aussie versus Yank battle.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of the Battle of Brisbane?
No.
It was.
Well, don't you wait for that for your next episode.
Well, it might not happen.
Yeah, it will.
I might retire this podcast because
Well,
I've had one of my favorite guests. No,
If the battery doesn't run out.
we can
the
still
car,
do
it's
it.
fine.
We're not. This is just from my memory. This isn't Wikipedia. But Battle of Brisbane was the Yank soldiers stationed here during the war, and there was a massive fight between the Aussies and the American soldiers.
Yeah.
Because they were jealous. They were like, "Oh, the Yanks are getting all our women. They're getting better. What do you call it? Like when you're only allowed bits of food and drink and rations. Yeah. So
They're getting rations, and they're probably getting
Yeah.
rations from
Yeah.
having sex with all the women.
yeah, right. And that's another one of those classic, like, where you create the image yourself. So in my mind, I've got these like, bloody seppos, come and get out. I don't know what accent that is. Bloody
That's like-
seppos come here and they take a, because there's a well-known line that I don't know if it was said by many of the people, whatever. The Aussies would say the Yanks, they were oversexed. I don't know. Look it up.
Okay.
But it's really funny because it was like, it's one of those ones where the last line is witty
Yeah.
retort, but it was like oversexed and over here or something like that. It made me think of that, you know, the Point Break boss where he's like young, dumb, and full of cum.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't say Point Break just then. It's like my favourite movie, and I couldn't remember how to say
So
it.
how did the Battle of Brisbane end? Was it just Gordon Tallis going out and bash the shit out of them?
Yeah. Oh, that was the better ending. I mean, it was 1930, so he wasn't born yet.
Oh, he
another
wasn't.
4 years.
Oh, I thought he was.
But the equivalent, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's
His
it, right? Like, because
great-great-grandfather.
we would have been rugby guys.
Yeah.
You got, or 1930, I don't know.
Yes.
They would have had the leatherhead helmets by then. Yeah. And like the
Hello,
old
boys.
footage would be like, and so the soldiers land. You know when the accents had.
Yeah.
I love those the old footage when the accents were still in there.
It was like,
Yeah, hadn't quite progressed.
and
to
here
it.
come the boys.
Yeah, that's
Down
it.
the street. Look at them go.
That's good. Yeah. You might need to use that as the intro to the song, like for one of your next songs.
Copyright.
I'm good. We've talked a lot of shit. Anything else you'd like to say?
Listen, check out my band, Total Unit.
Yeah.
I've never heard it before. Give us a little play on Spotify. I'll get like 0.6.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You do any of those? Tell your fans to put it on silent all night. I was reading about that actually.
We pay
There's-
some guys
there's a-
overseas to do that. You know those guys. Have you seen those videos of guys with like 1 million phones, like playing all the songs at once? Yeah, but no.
A lot of trickery. Not like us comedians. It's all legit.
Yeah,
I just got I don't know what tricks are.
you've got a lot of tricks.
Yeah. No, but absolutely from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It's been a pretty quick process. I just asked you, and I thought you'd say no, rack off, but you said yes, and
course.
if you want to check us collab out, look up too. We had a funny skit the other day.
Oh,
Remember
we
that?
did.
Yeah. I just
That was fucking great.
yes, and I'll put a link to that. But yes, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Whoever's listening to this, sorry about the roughness of it. As you can see, we're in a car, my car. But yeah, thank you very much, Drew. I appreciate it, and thank you if you've listened to this. Bye.
Bye bye.